Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the South Fulton Coalition. Tonight, we are pleased to have with us former Mayor William Bill Edwards. He will be discussing with us tonight his vision and plans for the city of South Fulton should he be elected to be our next mayor. So at this time, I wanted to go over some of the ground rules that we have. This is an opportunity for the candidate, Mr. Edwards, to talk about him and his platform. We ask that he refrain from badgering anyone, just like we do on all of our calls. We prefer that you not mention your competition's name because the public is here to learn about you, not them. If there are any topics that cannot be discussed, please announce them as they become available. If you are unable, oh, I'm sorry, that doesn't apply since you already are here. And we ask that the audience be respectful as well. And yeah, so I am going to start us off, and our moderator should be joining us momentarily. Mayor Edwards, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to come back and try to be the mayor again?
First, let me thank you, Rashad, and Ron, and to the coalition for allowing me to come in and express my views as to why I am doing what I'm doing. You know, I was the inaugural mayor for 4 years. The citizens of South Fulton felt that I was the right choice to have in that position. And I think they more likely based their decision on experience and reputation and ability to get things done. I have sat back for over 4 years now and looked and listened. And I have seen that the city was taking some definite negative directions in terms of where we need to go to build us to the next level. So when looking at the fact that how can we get to where we are, where we need to be, I felt that I could use my talents to actually achieve what we need and get us to where we're going. So I decided to come out of retirement and come into politics again to be your next mayor.
Thank you so much for that. Now, while you were mayor, what are some challenges that would cause you to lose sleep at night as it relates to the city?
Well, you know, you have to realize that when we first became mayor, you know, we came into this city with 80 million debt and $60 million in the bank, and having no office, actually no police that we were paying for, in services, and I had to go to sleep every night wondering, how can I get that? Where do I get them from? How much is it going to cost? But we weathered the storm, and we negotiated with Fulton County to help us with our services, and we went into a 12-month contract, which we came out of that contract within 11 months because of the fees we were paying Fulton County was kind of exorbitant. And it was the best thing for us to get ourselves together and move on independently as a city than to continue to pay fees to have services done for us. Money's always the thing. You know, during the time there, we borrowed, we had 2 loans, and both loans we had borrowed were at 2% interest rate. Now, you can imagine having to borrow money to do what you need to do, and you're a new city, you have no bond rating, you have no credit rating, but yet we were still able to achieve what we needed at a very, very low interest rate. Now, the beautiful about that is, on both of those loans, they were 12-month loans, and we were able to pay those loans back within 11 months. Money and service is always items that keep you tossing in bed as to where you're going to get them. But we weathered the storm, and we came.
Thank you so much for that. Now, the moderator, Tamika Leverett, I believe she is here. Tamika, are you able to unmute yourself?
It's not letting me unmute on my laptop.
All right, we'll fix that.
And Rashard, can you stop sharing the screen?
Yes, I'm about to. All right, Tamika, you can take over from here. Tamika, are you unable to mute?
Not on my laptop.
All right. While we're working on that technical issue, Mr. Edwards, do you have? Can you tell us about some of your plans coming back to the city?
My efforts to regain the office of mayor is based on 4 principles. One is sustainability. The other, economic development. The third one is accountability. And the fourth one is listening, which the fourth one is, I feel, is the most important one of the principles that I have in coming back. Sustainability. We got to go in and look at what we have, our leadership, and where we're going. We're doing things that now seem right, but can we sustain them in the future? For example, we'll build buildings, but can we sustain those buildings as we go forward? And what's the plan to do that? Economic development is always the issue with everybody. That's something that we'll have to really look into. We really have to move forward with economic development and hire good people in the economic development arena to bring in what we need to bring in. The accountability is simply about trust. We got to instill trust back in our government. We just recently had an issue with the cap. And I think that whole issue with the cap was not so much about taking the cap off. It was about the trust that we have in our government not to do anything stupid if we did such a thing. The interest rate for the building was good. The plans for the building was good, but there was a trust factor that people were not willing to give up or relinquish. And listening. God knows that we need to listen more to our constituents. We need to form partnerships with our constituents. We are one team with one mission, and that has to be the battle cry for us as we go in the future. A lot of stuff we get involved with is because we did not listen to our constituents as to what they wanted. You know, you can't say everything you want to say in 2 minutes in front of a board meeting. And now you can't say things at the board meeting if it's not on the agenda. I think we should open up the fact that everybody can say what they want to say. They pay taxes to do that. And we need to have a strong communication and a strong collaboration with our constituents.
All right. So while you were mayor, were there any effort? Because I remember we were able to come to public comment and make those public comments. So let's say, for example, I wanted to come and it wasn't on the agenda to talk about traffic lights, right? I was allowed to do that, and we also had the live chat. What are your thoughts about bringing that live chat back? And I know you just mentioned about the public comment, but specifically the live chat. What are your thoughts on that?
I think any way we can get feedback from the community is always a good thing. It's Rashad. Not just we can't resolve all our issues whether I give you more time at a meeting or not. So what are we gonna have to do? We're gonna have to get out in the community. We're gonna have listening sessions. We're gonna go to barbershops, Bill's gas stations, and things that nature. Meet you where you are, and so we can have a true conversation as to what should be our next step and how the community we're going to be in a collaborative effort to give us a great quality of life. Yes, I would. I prefer. I've always been in situations where, in my career, where people had the opportunity to talk on anything they wanted to talk on, whether it be live chat or whatever the thing may be. As long as you're being respectful and honest and things of that nature, I think that dialogue must come back.
All right, thank you so much. Now Tamiko, can you hear us now? All right. Well, while she works on her audio, we will continue to have this conversation. And I just wanted to let everybody know if you would like to ask a question to Mayor Edwards, please use the reaction button and raise your hand, and we will acknowledge you. But back to you, Mr. Edwards. So at the previous debates, we heard you mention about how you did not bring any warehouses to the city of South Fulton. So can you expand upon that a little bit more? Because I know that is a rumor that is out there. Can you quash that, or what do you have to say about that?
I think the most hurting thing for me in politics was that lie. Uh, if you know, excuse me, if you know about the when we divided the county up, when we went to East Point, and the rest of the cities, they had their boundaries. It was decided in Union City that they would be a logistics city. And by doing that, they said that it's the right thing for them to do because their close proximity to the airport. So being a logistics city was the right thing in their minds for them to do. Never have I had a conversation with the Union City mayor about any warehouses that I thought that we wanted to bring to that portion of the city. So I challenge anybody that if I did that, first of all, I don't have a vote in the city. Secondly, if I did, there was something on our agenda that would allow us to put warehouses in Union City, then I would like for you to bring me that agenda item, if it exists. Even back when we were unincorporated county, is there an agenda item under the same circumstances? Then please bring it before me. Ladies and gentlemen, I have never put or been involved in bringing a warehouse to South Fulton Parkway, and that's the honest God's truth.
All right, thank you so much for that. We have a question from the audience. Miss Patricia, if you can unmute yourself, you have the floor. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
I hear
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Okay, hi. Good evening, everybody. I'm
Good
Mr.
evening.
Bill Edwards. I've got a question for you.
Yes.
As a military retired veteran, NSNBC announces today that if the shutdown doesn't end by 10:15, active duty soldiers will not get paid. With all that is going on in the state, the city continues to be in a spending spree, which seems to be apparent. In your next administration, how will you ensure that city officials are cognizant on how taxpayers' dollars are spent wisely, economically, and for the benefit of the community?
That goes back to one of my topics I talked to you about was communication and listening. First of all, we got to listen to you guys and see where you are. Secondly is we have to be very frugal about the decisions we make when we spend money. It's not a new thing. The Trump administration has said from day one what they were going to do, and those things would be transported down, not from the federal to the state, to the county, and to the local government. We have to tighten our belts. We can't afford the things that we have previously. Our city government is a government of service. And what do I mean by that? If they're like most of the services, especially in veterans, most of the services that are received by the veterans, ladies and gentlemen, they come from the federal government. And when they start taking things away, we as a local government got to be able to subsidize and support in some way. But if we continue to do the spending that we're doing, at the rate we're doing it, we're never going to be able to help veterans or anybody else as the law comes down from the federal government, from the state government, and from the county government, as we lose grants and other things that we had before to help people. So we're going to have to be able to help our folks to sustain the quality of life that they need. You're absolutely correct. Spending is outrageous. We got to hold back for things that we need to do in the future, and especially in terms of giving services to the people that elected us as their leaders.
Thank you for that question. Do I get another one? Number 2 question, Rashad?
Yeah, feel free to go ahead.
Okay. All right, Mr. Edwards. As you know, the city has been embroiled in several hot topics, one being P cards. Would you consider evaluating P card spending and even dropping the amount of P card allegation across the city, all employees and city government? I mean city council, and that also goes to with the sanitation. Many citizens were quite upset.
That's two
About the
different, that's two
sanitation
different
tax.
topics.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Stick to the P card
Oh,
question.
okay, that's it.
Okay, what are we talking about? The P card?
Yes.
First, let me tell you this. I've never had a P card in my pocket. From the time I was Fulton County Commissioner to the time I was mayor of this city. I didn't need to. It was always in the process in the possession of Dolores Baskin, who was my assistant. I would use that P card, hotels and things of that nature, where if I was going on events for the city. But I would use my own card to pay for food and things of that nature, keep the receipts, bring those receipts back to my office, give them to my assistant, who then would submit those receipts for reimbursement. That's a clean way to do it. It's not, when you put a P card in your hand, it's not for you to use frivolously for the things that you want. So to answer your question, there's always another way to do it. You don't have to have a P card. You can do things just straight on requisitions, which means that you would have to, if you're going on a trip that you need a plane fare, you requisition to the finance department what that cost is going to be, and the finance department will issue you the money for that plane trip. That kind of takes the fat out of things that were going wrong. So do we need to have pickup? If it's going to continuously cause a problem of trust and disrespect for having them in our possession, then I say no. We need to just call out and then make sure that we have requisitions in order so that we can be held accountable for money that's been.
Thank you for that question. Thank you for that answer.
Yes.
All
All
right.
right, and then Ms.
wanna
Patricia, before we turn it over to you, Tamiko, Ms. Patricia, you have a follow-up question about sanitation. If we can get to that, and then we'll turn it over to you, Tamiko, and you can take it from here.
Okay.
All right, thank you. One more question, Mr. Edwards. The sanitation bill, quote unquote, which is a sanitation tax in its legal perspective, was a hit that a lot of citizens took pretty hard in terms of when you speak about transparency, honesty, open and honest communication. I think a lot of us felt bamboozled by the sanitation tax. Others were very keen on the fact that what this sanitation tax was going to do in terms of our it being attached to our mortgage. It's understood that our sanitation tax is going to go up next year. And I'm not sure if the contract is up next year. What do you plan on doing to rectify and comfort the citizens, or maybe even change the way we do our sanitation back to the way it was?
Well, what I'm hearing from people, citizens in the city, we're going to have to go back and revisit. People talk about transparency, man, but listen, you can't be transparent at the end of the deal. You got to be transparent up front. And that calls for bringing people in, letting them have a complete knowledge and a complete understanding of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And if there was something that they didn't like or something we need to add on, but let's have a communication and talk about it. I don't think that there was an opportunity for all of the citizenry. Now, let me just not put it all on the city. Citizens are going to have to take charge by coming to the meetings, the opportunities that they have to voice their opinions. We're going to have to do that, and I want them to increase their participation. A learning community is the best community to work with, and where are they going to get that knowledge? They're going to get it from us. And so I've heard things like, which I think is disgusting, where someone is losing their house because they did not pay their sanitation bill. That's unquestionably out of works. I mean, we don't want to do that. It has to be revisited, but it has to be revisited with all of us communicating on where we go in the future.
Thank you so much for that answer. Thank you.
Now, first, I want to apologize for my technical difficulties I was having and to say I appreciate you, Mayor Bill Edwards, for continuing before I got a chance to ask you questions, and Rashard for helping, and Ms. Patricia for helping fill in while I get these technical difficulties together. So I want to introduce myself. I am Tamiko Leverett. I am your moderator for this evening. I am going to ask my questions, and then I'm going to go and ask the audience to come in with their questions. And so that being said, I also would like to say that I am a supporter for you. I was not a supporter last election. I did not vote for you, but I am going to vote for you this election. So I want to be upfront about it. But I plan on still asking you the questions that I believe that as residents we need to ask if you want to be our mayor. So that being said, what separates the mayor from the council?
Very, very good question. When we became a city, we had we had a rule book, as you want to call it, and it stated what the do's and don'ts of the mayor and the council. Listen, and I want you all to understand this clearly. Council people are policy makers. That means that they vote on policy. Once they vote on that policy, whether it be by resolution or whatever the case may be, that policy is then handed over to the city manager for the city manager to carry out the will and the policy of the council. It's nothing more than that. It's nothing to be confused about. They are policymakers. Here's what the problem is. The problem comes when council people step outside of their box and start mingling in what we call operations. Operations is the sole propriety of the city manager. As the mayor's job is described very simply. It's a weak mayor form of government. The mayor is the voice of the city. He's the face of the city. The only real power you have, I mean, and I'm not going to demean the office because I have nothing against the mayor being a weak mayor. But the only real strength you have is the power to veto. And so you ask yourself, well, why is the mayor around? Because he's the voice and the face of the city, he has to go to places to be there for the city, showing people that this city is profitable, this city is great to come. You know, he has to have the information and the knowledge to really communicate with other municipalities and other cities in the area. So yep, the other thing is, so you got 4 votes. 4 votes moves everything, okay? So you say, well, how do you get around that? Well, in all my career, I've known that if you don't have 4 votes for something, then you don't have nothing but conversation. So how do you get those 4 votes? You communicate. You communicate with your people on the council. You give them the facts. You try to persuade them to do one thing or do something or not do something. I've been successful with that over my career. And I think that that lines out for you very simply what everybody is supposed to be about.
Thank you for the answer. I saw during 2024 that they pointed out that Biden was too old. Although I think him and Trump are like a year or two apart. I know another candidate has pointed out that you're too old, move out the way. Why, what is going on with the ageism? Do you think you are too old for this role? Like, should you not move out the way?
Listen, it's always some ism when you're working. I will not make excuse for people being young and inexperienced. That's not what I do. I'm just trying to. I'm about to use my experience and my years of wisdom to set this city's feet on the ground solidly. Listen, they said that it was. I was told when I lost the race last time that we needed a change. Well, my answer to that, or my question back to that person was always, how did that work out for you? I was talking to a constituent the other day. He told me, he said, you know the difference between the first 4 years and the second 4 years? And I said, I probably could tell you a lot of things, but what do you feel it is? He says, only one thing, Bill. That in the first 4 years, there was an adult in the room. And sometimes you have to have an adult in the room. It amazes me when people who have been in this government from 4 to 8 years, who have voted on things that was not good for us to be voting on, yet they're going to tell you that they're ready to be your mayor. Either you're part of the problem or either you're part of the solution. And you can't play this in and out game. I am who I am. I'm Bill Edwards. I've been around for many, many years. I've gotten a lot of experience on a lot of things, a lot of know-how. I made friends and relationships with a lot of people. And I know that I can take those things, those attributes that I have over my years as a public servant, and use that to right this city and make it the best city it can be.
All righty, so that brings up a point that you talked about. The land use map is getting ready to be updated during your next term. Where would you recommend putting warehouses and data centers?
Data centers and warehouses should be any place where we have identified by the land use map to be placed. Where is that now? Fulton Industrial Boulevard. It's a warehouse district, one of the largest warehouse districts in the Southeast. That's where we say we need to put warehouses and things of that nature. Oakley Industrial Boulevard is another area where we have identified for warehouse usage. Now, as we go into the conversation for the new land use map, I don't think we should have a conversation about putting another industrial site for warehouses in the city. I think we need to work to build the ones we got, to build them out. In the conversation with the data centers, I've talked with developers, commercial developers, and I do understand that we're using a lot of data now. We got these iPads and telephones and all this kind of stuff in this. But guys, we have approved 6 data centers in our city. That's too much. And I'm going to tell you why. The important thing about bringing a data center in to the city, the only attribute it is taxes. They pay a lot of taxes. or an exorbitant amount of taxes. So that increases your bottom line in your tax. However, they also have some environmental issues that's associated with having them in your community. One is being water, the demand for water, the demand for electricity, and when we talk about getting new businesses in our community, we also talk about the opportunity for our citizens to have jobs. In the data center, there is no opportunity. Let's be frank about it. You may have one or two down there, but most data centers, you can run a big data center with just 10 people. There is not a big pool for jobs. So if you're thinking about your bottom line in taxes, and that's why you bringing them in, then you have been successful. But if you're not considered the other things, the job not being there, the environmental issues pertaining to the water and to the electric, did I guess you did the right thing? I would not be a proponent of having 6 data centers in this city. And if they were, they would have to be in the industrial area.
Were you responsible for Fulton Industrial being part of the city?
Yes. I'll tell you what happened there. Fulton, when they drew the lines for the city, they drew out Fulton Industrial Boulevard. And we as a government, we sent lobbyists and we sent attorneys to convince the government, the state government, to allow us to bring Fulton Industrial back into our city. And I'm tell you why. Because we have been paying for Fulton Industrial Boulevard, its police, fire, and everything for the time that we were unincorporated. So we deserved Fulton Industrial Boulevard. So what I asked, after about 2.5 years, I asked my colleagues if they would allow me to go and talk about bringing Fulton Industrial back to the city, and if they would just hush. They agreed. So I went down to the legislature. Well, let me go back. Let me drop back. First, I called the governor, and I told the governor I needed to meet with him. And we went in and met with the governor, and here's what he told me. He said, "Bill, get Fulton County, get Atlanta, get yourselves, and get the school board together, and y'all work this out." He said, "Because I don't want to veto it." Well, we pursued that route to get those 4 entities together. Making a long story short, Atlanta was our biggest holdup. School board was willing to lose $10 million to bring that part of Fulton County into our city. Of course, we wanted it. And we had about 3 out of 4 who wanted to do it. When we got to the table, here's what I proposed. I proposed that we, as the city, take all of the land from I-20 back toward our city, and that we'd allow Atlanta and Fulton County to have the rest of it going the other way. Well, one of the things that Atlanta was worried about, that they didn't want to go at the airport. Well, they didn't want to go at the airport, and God knows we don't want an airport. All right. Finally, Fulton, Atlanta came across. We agreed to the deal. I never thought that deal would have legs, but it did, and it went to the legislature. Here's the important thing to know: in the legislature, when they voted on between the House and the Senate, there was only one dissenting vote. And the next question was, well, you think the governor's not going to sign that? what I beg to differ. Governor Kemp signed that bill, and here we are today. We got Fulton Industrial Boulevard that added $9 million to our bottom line.
Alrighty, so I've sparked off some questions already. So I'm going to take a couple of questions and then I'll go back to some of my questions. Naima has a question.
Hey, Naima.
Ms. Gilliard, if you can
How are
unmute
you?
yourself.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
I don't know what I did, but can you hear me?
We hear
Yes,
you.
Yes, what's your question? If you can't hear us, then put it in the chat and we'll ask for you.
Okay.
But we can hear you.
It's a couple of comments before I ask the question. Is that okay?
We're doing questions right now.
Okay, so the question is, why is it that so much of the development that has occurred in the city of South Fulton for the past 8 years are residential instead of mixed use, and a combination of more businesses than residential, and the residential going all the way back, and I have the Fulton County records from 2002 of all of the residential projects that were approved that have come through, not all of them, but many of them, for 2008, that are projects that we really don't need, that created too much density, and maybe because we had sewer in the area instead of, going in other directions or mixing it up within areas that didn't have sewer and areas that did have sewer. So we have too much
Hold on, Ms.
residential
Naima. I'm getting
development.
confused on your
So,
question. Are you asking him
yes, I'm asking.
about the development for the last 4 years?
Why was there so much residential development going all the way back then, even up to now, without there being a mixture of residential and commercial?
So you asking him from the first 4 years or for the second 4 years? Because he wasn't the mayor the second 4 years.
The first 4 years.
Okay.
Okay, my name, and thank you for that question. When I was with the county commission, and one thing about economic development, the adage was, you get the rest of the stuff you wanted if you have the rooftops, and I'm sure you've heard that before too.
Exactly.
And so we endeavored to actually do that. We endeavored to get the rooftop so that the other things would follow. I do agree with you that one of the things, we did a good job in Fulton County, but in the city, we didn't do a good job of really ascertaining what our infrastructure needs were. And that's in terms of roads, sewer, things of that nature. And we're still dealing with that today. So in terms of density, it has been shown that many businesses will come to an area if it's dense, if it has the density. Well, we in South Fulton, we didn't like it. We didn't like the issue of density, and which cut out a large part of the market, of the commercial market, that we could have ascertained. The other thing is, and I got to be very honest, people are going to want to do business with you, in terms of bringing some of the things into the city that we need. The picture if you picture a hostility, jealousy, anger, then nobody wants to fool with that kind of government. So we have to change that. I think that this whole live, work, and play issue, when you were there when we talked a lot about that, was an effort to do what you actually said, you actually just talked about doing, to bring different concepts or bring different things into the play as we went forward. And we did some of those, and they have some of those have worked out very, very well. So I guess that would be my answer to you. We were just following the market, and then we learned from our mistakes, and everybody makes mistakes. And we learned that the cost of not having businesses is not having appropriate infrastructure, appropriate sewer and things of that nature to come in, and to have a government that is friendly toward people coming in. You know, we have a permitting problem in South Fulton. It takes people sometimes 6, 8, 9, 10 months to a year to get a permit. That is not permit friendly. We're gonna have the people want to come in. I just met with a board with a bunch of developers last week, commercial developers, and one of their chief problems was I can't get anything approved. And I asked why, and it varied as to why you couldn't. One is that we don't have enough employees in that area, and that you start off with one person in permitting, and then pretty soon, couple of weeks or 2 months later, you got another person, and then you actually got to start all over again. So I heard all of that, and that's one goes back to my issue of listening. I've heard all of that, and we got to really look into the fact that if we want the kinds of things that we want to get, we got to make ourselves look better physically. We got to work with we got to bring in our economic development department. Naima, we got to go out. We got to leave our office and go out and talk to people, businesses that we'd like to see in our city. We can't sit back any longer and wait for somebody to come in and say, I want to put a gas station up. That's not the way we need to do business anymore. So
hold on your economic development.
Yes.
Because we got a couple other questions. I just want
to
try to.
I'll stop there.
We got a moment. We got some people coming.
Yeah.
All right. Deborah Robinson has a question.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Leverett, and it's Deborah Robinson Herring. Good evening, everyone. Mayor Edwards, my question has to do with this kind of shifting. What are your plans to help us feel more like one city versus 7 mini cities? And that's MINI, 7 mini cities.
Okay. So Deborah, I talked a little bit about that before, but let me tell you what we do. There's one thing that can help us do that. It's called the city charter. And the city charter gives you the what the council is supposed to do, what the mayor is supposed to do, what the city manager is supposed to do. So there's only one city, it's one team, one mission. But because of the fact that some of the council people have leaped over into operation, we got to keep elected officials out of the operations end of the city. We got to hire people who have the experience, who have the knowledge, that can move these departments that we have, that can move these departments forward. And we got to stop harassing our employees, making them do things, being brutal to them, threatening them, and people want to stay because they know what they're doing is wrong, but they want to keep their jobs. So we're gonna have to cut that off. And it starts with the city council. We got to make sure that you're not meddling in the operations of this city. You're not a city alone. We're one team and we're one mission.
Sam Bowden, you had a question?
I sure do. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. You're still mayor to me.
Thank you so much.
My question is more on the nuts and bolts of things. Having spent time behind the scenes with the city myself, serving on different boards, like what 90-day plan or improvement plan would you put in place to improve core services? Like you just mentioned, permitting is one of them, and potentially reducing or eliminating our what some on the call is called a tax. And I agree to some extent, a sanitation bill. especially given the revenue that we could potentially get from all these data centers and other avenues. And second part of that is how would you publicly let us know what benchmarks would you publish or put out there so we can also track it?
Before you answer that,
Mhm.
one of my questions, and after we get through these two, we'll go back to my questions. But one of my questions was, what are you going to do on your first day in office? So let's talk about what are you going to do your first day, and then what are you going to do over the first 90 days?
Well, I told people when I win, I'm not interested in having an inauguration. I've already had one of them. I'm interested in going to work on day one. Going in and assess not just where we are today, but assess, can we get where we want to be tomorrow with what we have today? That's very, very important. The spending, a lot of the frivolous spending has to stop. If you all don't know it, we have these events that goes on in our parks and recreation that's done by our different districts. Ladies and gentlemen, those things are costing money. They're costing time. Overtime right now in our city is off the chain. Off the chain. We're spending money for people to tell us how to bring ourselves back into the realization of where we're supposed to be. What do I mean by that? We've had 2 surveys on our police department. One was done by another police department. The other one was done by a national firm. And now we have a police chief out there who's on leave, but he's making $18,000 a month. We're paying heavily for the new guy to come in to assess the police department, and we're also paying for a police assistant police chief. We got to stop this flow of money that's just continuously going out. And when we get a hold to that, bring that back in and see how we can transfer some of that expense to people, for people to work, for us to get additional employees. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 18 parks. And in 18 parks, we only have 50 employees. And God, I thank every day for them, because they do a yeoman's job with what they got. But when it comes up to, there's something like right now, $55,000 in over budget for overtime. Police is worse than that. You know, who is holding the reins to say, we're getting too dangerously close in a certain area, we need to shift and do something else? Who's supposed to do that? That is the city manager's job. That is the city manager's job. So how do I get you involved in making sure that all this stuff happens? I want to ask IT. We have this program, and I want to make sure that we do it, where you can go in, and I want you to see everything, not just the money, but everything that we're doing and everything that we're proposing. And I can get your feedback, because once again, remember listening. I want to get your feedback on how do we take these orders, move forward to make things better. But while we're talking about what we're doing, and while we're talking about the buildings that we're doing, ladies and gentlemen, it's like a duck crossing the water. It's very beautiful, but they're paddling like hell underneath. And that's where some sustainability comes for me. You can't do something if you can't sustain it. It doesn't mean anything. So I got to make sure that no matter what we do, that we're able to sustain what we do in the future as we go.
All righty. Yoshina?
Good evening. Good evening, Ms. Tamiko.
Good evening.
Thank you all so much for having this forum again, or this platform. So I have a couple of questions, and I hear everything that you're saying, Mayor Edwards. And I guess my first question would be, why are we paying so much for the police chief? Because that's not even, that's about a little over average. And not saying you, but I do agree with you on the wasteful of the spending. Because even as you mentioned with Fulton Industrial, if we're bringing in 9 million just for Fulton Industrial, and we do have other smaller density that we've already accrued in, as they continue to tell us, the warehouses aren't ours, that we're not getting any money from that. We worked so hard to get Fulton Industrial. My question there is, why are we still having to raise the taxes on the residents?
Raising the taxes.
Because they're getting ready, they were trying to raise the millage rate up as well and increase more taxes, and we're paying out more money. And yes, I agree with you. It's a lot of frivolous spending, because I feel like there's a lot of nepotism, where there are people hiring their people and they're just getting paid, and we're just running up the tab. And there's no work, because we're not getting quality.
Well, since you asked the question about how did the chief gets to get the salary he gets, it is the job of the mayor to recommend a person for a position, whether it be chief or city manager. Well, once we do that, it is up to the council to affix a salary or whatever case, once they decide is that what they want to do. I assume that a lot of them base their decision on work experience, education, and things of that nature. So that's how that salary comes. However, let me just give you a classic example. You hire somebody to do a job for us in the city at what I felt was a comparable salary. After 6 months on the job, you increase that person $70,000. Do you know how much we could do with $70,000? So when you do things like that, then you have to go back and raise your millage rate to offset the stuff that you have done that was not right.
Absolutely.
You can protect your millage rate by taking charge of the spending that you're having to do today. Then you never have to go into your reserve. Nobody wants to go into their reserves. That's why they call them reserves. Not saying that you don't have to do it, all right? Sometimes you have to go in. But to go into reserves because you spent too much money on the other end, that's not a good way to function in a reserve.
All righty, Cody, you have a question? And then I'll go back to some of my questions.
Yes. Hey, hello, Mr. Edwards. I had a question.
Yes,
I want to
sir.
know, how do you feel about elected officials having to pay for business license? I know it was a lot of conflict about, some of the elected officials, they own businesses in the city, and they own buildings in the city, and their tenants not paying, their business license, and they blaming it on the staff. How do you feel about that?
That's an easy pay. Pay. If the requirements for you to own a business, whether you're an elected official or not, then you should pay. I haven't seen anything in the code or anything that says that elected officials don't have to pay their business licenses. I haven't seen that anywhere. Maybe I missed something.
Well, my question was if they own the building. So let's just say one of the council people, they own the building and they're renting it out to someone, and the person that they're renting it out is not keeping up with their business license payments.
That person they rented to should have to be dealt with.
Okay.
It has to be dealt with. But I thought you were saying that we were deferring licenses on a building or whatever because they were elected officials. That's what I thought you said. But
But don't the business property owner have to pay for a business license because it's still a business that they renting out? So don't they still have
Yeah,
to be
they're still
paying the business license?
if in fact the person don't pay, it is the responsibility of the person who owns the building.
Okay, reason I asked because we had such, I used to manage was one of the processes I managed at the city of South Fulton, and that was an issue I used to see. And sometimes we would, get in trouble, if a elected official would call in and, talking to us any kind of way, and, and it wouldn't be our fault. It would be, just them not paying their taxes, So I seen that a few
See,
times working at the city, so.
So see, that's what I was talking about earlier when you talk about stepping out of the box and getting into operations. You know, at that time that was said to you on that phone that elected official, whoever they were, just broke the law. Should have never made that phone call to you. Because the charter of the city says that an elected official cannot tell an employee or instruct the employee what to do. That goes by phone or anything else. So you should have had the right in your job. You knew what you had to do. So you were just in the matter of, well, nothing to the contrary, you must pay this business license. So just pay the business license.
I will vouch for Cody as a former employee that there are several council people who insert themselves into operations, and I have seen people lose their job because of council members. So I know that for a fact happens. So I will back Cody up on the way they handle people, and they should. You're correct. They shouldn't be in operations.
So Tamiko, here's the problem with that. And what I want to say is to make this clear. When you see something, say something. I don't want people to live and work for us under fear and intimidation. I can't handle a problem if you conceal the problem with your fear and your intimidation. And I will promise you, as your mayor, when people do that, when they violate their office, or when they violate the charter, I will make sure that there's penalties for that.
So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So I'm gonna stop it right there. But I will again say the top people were the ones who were telling staff that they better do it.
I understand.
Or else. So that's a different conversation for another day. So
right.
My question for today, as of right now, what do you think the city got right? And what is it that you think the city needs to improve?
Good question. Just based on their ability to have a fund balance that is incredible, seems to me that they were doing some things that were right. Having their employees they made a ditch effort to have the employees to have better working environment, which I thought was a good thing. But some of the things that they did that were questionable and needed to be looked at. And that is, number one, do we have the right people in the right place to do the right thing? What do I mean by that? People always talk about transparency, ladies and gentlemen, but we got over 8 lawsuits in the police department alone. 8, not counting the ones we have in other places. People are walking out on us. We just fired 2 people yesterday. We've had several people who have been in the finance department over the years. Several people have been in various departments who are now gone. So something's wrong with that. Either we hiring the wrong people, don't have the experience, or we don't train the people to do a job, or that we got people who are not willing to be a part of the team. Remember, one team, one mission, or people who don't want to be members of the team. So we got to go into go and assess where we are. I think bringing some of the roads in line was good. Bringing some of the enhancing the interim city hall was good because people can now be able to spread out and do their work and feel good about where they are. I think all of that is good. But we're gonna have to go in and look at the bottom line of everything and find out, and morale is in the toilet. I mean, I get phone calls every day. Morale is in the toilet, and it's simply because we don't treat people right. We don't treat people with dignity, and sometimes the people that we hire don't treat us with dignity. And so, at some point in time, those two things must part. But I think that goes a lot. They've done some good things. There's some things I could keep going on about that they didn't do very well. But I praise them for this. We're still here. We're still functioning, and some kind of way we're still managing to pay our bills and to move on as a pretty prosperous government.
All righty, Mr. Alexander.
How you doing there, Mayor Edwards? How you doing?
How you doing, Mr. Alexander? How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. So, many commercial spaces across South Fulton, including newer developers like that BP Plaza that was built about maybe 5 years ago or so on Campbellton, Cascade Palmetto Highway. They said vacant for quite a few years. I'm not sure if y'all know about that particular intersection there. That BP was built new a few years ago, and there are so many suites that's been vacant all that time. I think there's an Andrea's Jamaican restaurant or something there.
I've eaten there.
Yeah. So I have a question. I had a restaurant called Frostology, and I went to that place about maybe 3 years ago to BP to look at some of those places. And there was just maybe a month of research and trying to get in touch with the owners and talking to the guys that work in the BP. Was never able to get the owners. And I think I was getting a little feeling that they were kind of picking and choosing who they wanted in the building. In hindsight, here we are a few years later, and they still don't have anybody in there. So my question for you is, would the city consider something like creating a commercial vacancy data collection program, some kind of program that we know what's going on in these plazas that are not renting out to people? That could be something a little nefarious beyond that of reason why they're not doing so. So that's my question there. Would you create something? Our city has a issue with data collection on a lot of different things in areas in our city. And I think this is one of them that we may need to pay attention to.
Sir, you are absolutely, totally correct. We should know where everything's available. But remember now, where have we had in the last 4 years, where have we had a really functional economic development department? Functional meaning that we should know where every vacant building is in this city. It should be a database for it. We should be able to, people come to us and talk to us about doing business, and we should be able to look at that database and say, based on what you told me, I want to show you this location. Just like a real estate agent does. Based on what you told me, I'm sure you just like location. In the particular place, the particular business you asked about, I think you hit it on the head. I think they want who they want in the space, because there was a lot of back and forth going on because they wanted to put a liquor store there, and the community didn't think that was the proper place for the liquor store, and I don't think that they really got it. And I think there may be a little bad taste in their mouth about that. So having I want to get a economic development person who is a real economic development person, who's not sitting at the desk waiting for me to come in, waiting for somebody to come in that we may not need or we may do need. But to get out there and have a functional, what do I want to call it? A functional list of properties, of empty places. And the other thing I want them to do, I want to have what is called a a secret person go into these businesses that we do have.
Like a secret shopper program.
Secret shopper program. And I want them to come out the business and fill out a form that they don't do. They could be from somebody from Johns Creek, I don't know. But come out and assess what they had. The food quality, the customer service, and yada, yada. You see, the problem with our services is that business goes where it's welcome, or it's called, but it stays where it's appreciated. We got to appreciate people when we come in. And once we do these secret shoppers, we'll go back to the business and say, all right, you just been secret shop yesterday. Here's the problems we came up with. Now here's how we can help you. And so I think that'll go a long way into helping us not only build different places or shops. The second thing is, I like to have a City of South Fulton business incubator. See, a lot of people don't want to get out there and go into business because they really don't know how to. They really get scared of all the things they have to do to become a business. But if we had a business incubator that's in our economic development building or processes, then we could train people like yourself and others who are having to do business outside of their home, train them in, bring them out, put them in their own place with other businesses, with their own receptionists, the universal receptionists and universal print room, and they could run that business out of our incubator while we at the same time teaching them the do's and don'ts of how to run a business and how to be successful. So those are economic development things that we're not used to, but we got to bring in to help ourselves and our people.
All right. So my next question is, people have said that the city is running amok and we need to lose our charter. Number one, do you think we should use our charter? And some people say that we haven't done anything in 8 years. So what do you say to those two things?
Well,
as far as we haven't done anything and losing the charter?
I don't agree with that. The conversation of 8 years, because the first 4 years we were desperately about the business of standing up a city. I got to tell you, people don't know this, but when we first started the city, not only having the $80 worth of $80 million of debt and $60 million in about 3 weeks after that, we had the worst tornado in the world that hit us. Right off South Fulton Parkway, houses and families were devastated. We had to deal with that. And then the other thing happened is that we were hit with a pandemic. We had to deal with that. On top of everything, I think we came out with $80 million worth of debt and $60 million in the bank. And we wound up at the end of 4 years, we wound up with about $75 million to the good. So we were very entrenched in standing the city up, standing in the gap, so we would not fail. So I don't know how this 8 year stuff came in, because I think the first 4 years that we were here, I think we did an outstanding job, and I think we did not have the kinds of problems with P cards. We didn't have the kind of problems with arrests. We didn't have the problems that we had in the second 4 years. Tamika, what was the other part of that question?
That we should pull the charter back.
Okay, the charter. No. We're not dead yet. I'm not gonna sit there and tell people that we are, or I'm not gonna receive that. We can turn this around, but it's gonna take all of us collectively to do it. We're not gonna be able to turn this thing all around with the 8 people that we have, or 7 people we have on council and all this other. We got to get you guys firmly involved. And you got to know that involvement does not mean that you're just saying something that we don't hear. or we just saying something that we're not going to implement, or we just giving you a little area to talk about. We really don't want to listen to you. That's not involvement. If we had a spot for eighth council person, it would be you. It would be the city of South Fulton. The constituent should be the eighth council person in the room. So we're not dead. I don't see any threat of them changing the charter. But if we keep going on the way we have been going on, there may be some conversation about it. You know, this ain't the first time a charter has been taken. Charters have been taken before, but I don't think we're that yet, and we must protect ourselves.
Alrighty. Yoshina, you have a question?
Let's come back to her because I've tried to unmute her. So we can go to Miss Pam Harvey.
Alrighty, Ms. Harvey. Alrighty, Mr. Bowden.
there she goes.
Yes, thank you very much. I just received the unmute sign from you. Good evening, all, and Mr. Edwards.
Good evening, Miss Harvey.
Okay, I'll be brief.
Yeah.
I think we need to look at, and it doesn't matter who's mayor.
Yes,
we
ma'am.
need to look at private equity moving into the neighborhoods, building properties, renting them out for $3,000 and $4,000 a month. Now, we've had 3 houses in the Red Oak District, 4 houses, I should say. 3 are being built now. 1 has been finished, and it has been sitting there for over a month.
Yes, ma'am.
We need to, and you know, someone was talking about the millage rate, and I wanted to know, it's going to change the fabric of a community with these private equity properties where they are renting these properties out.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, how are these properties taxed? And should we be thinking about increasing the taxes on these properties? Because there have been situations, and it's not in our community, but I've seen situations where they buy all these properties. Sometimes they'll just abandon them, and then they are eyesores, and then they have been destroyed by homeless people coming in because the
So hold on, Ms. Harvey.
corporations don't want to deal with it anymore.
Right.
All right.
So my
is your
question is, yeah, I'm sorry for the long-winded question,
okay.
but what are your thoughts on that?
I think you're right on it, Miss Harvey. Twofold. Let me just say, once again, we talk about bringing in people in economic development that knows economic development and has the reputation of doing good in that area. So let's talk about data for a few minutes. I think that if we had a reputable department, then we need to assess the data some kind of way. When a private equity firm buys a home, we need to know who they are, where they are, their phone numbers and everything. We need to have that in a file in our city so that we can deal with it. And also, it can also be where that once we know this, that our code enforcement entity can, now that they're identified, can go by and make additional inspections to make sure that homes are not going down. The other has to do with the data side of it. The other thing is, we're going to have to go to the legislature, Ms. Harvey, to help us to get some legislation that will give us some teeth into us and what we're able to do and don't do with a private equity firm. They're all over. You know, we used to have in subdivisions that you had a 20% in a subdivision was allowed for rental. I think you remember that.
Yes.
But what happened is, that was nice to say, but who enforced it? I mean, who knew? You probably had, in the 3, 4, 5 years, you probably had 35% rental. So being able to have that data and being able to have when I'm saying have the data, because they're not going to give it to you, but the legislature can write a legislation that said that a private equity purchase must be reported to the local economic development office or whatever the case may be, so that they can be put in our database to make sure that we achieve what we're trying to achieve in terms of not devastating our community. So I think it's city, and I think it's state.
So what you're saying is there isn't anything in place dealing with these properties.
No. Right.
And that can be dangerous in the future, because now I'm seeing more and more of these people coming in. And I mean, I get 10 phone calls a day. They're asking me, do I want to sell my house? So I know they all want to buy in the Red Oak district.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get these homes, especially ones that's already paid for.
Yeah.
And that could be a dangerous situation. So we need to look at that, because I mean,
Ms. Harvey, is that a question?
okay, yeah. We got a lot of situations in Red Oak where a lot of things have started to develop, but now it's been placed back on hold. You got the Job Corps it's an eyesore now. The Red Oak Cemetery has been abandoned.
Ms. Harvey, is there a question?
What are your thoughts?
I do have thoughts on that.
Okay.
I think I was pretty optimistic about the Job Corps situation. My colleague was leading that whole deal, and all of a sudden, they decided that they first said that the contract was no good. They were going to change contractors, and then when they changed contractors, they never got nobody. And I think that we're going to be living with that eyesore for the next 3 to 4 years. The other thing is, and I want to add something to the last bit too, Ms. Harvey. The other problem we have the really, and they tried to do something in the legislature about it, and that's the issue of squatters. So we have to deal with that too. But there's a lot of, I think, if they're not going to do anything with the land where that place is, then why don't they allow? I would love to see some school in AU Center purchase that and have a extended campus over here in our city. That would be a wonderful thing to do. But I don't think that the federal government, Ms. Harvey, gonna want to sell. You know.
You're probably right.
Yeah, they're not gonna sell. So once again, it depends on how strong are we in economic development in terms of who we got working for us, and the kinds of things, the mandates that we're gonna put on them to get the job done.
Alrighty, we are getting close to our time. Are you able to stay on a little longer, or you got a hard stop?
Let me see. I probably have a hard stop at about 8:30.
Alrighty, Mr. Bowden, ask your question, and then we're gonna rush through the ones that I have.
No problem. It's Bowen.
I'm sorry.
Y'all good. Mr. Edwards, as you know, the charter says the city manager, not the mayor, has the authority to appoint, suspend, or remove city employees, department heads. It also has that clause in there to stop interference of the council and the mayor with the city, with the employees.
Mm-hmm.
What specific charter changes would you put forward as mayor and working with the city council to change the culture that, as other people in this call have described as being bad, and as you also alluded to as being bad? What specific charter recommendations or changes would you put forward to help turn that around?
Well, I think I think it's a two-part question, and one is that I would enforce things that you just said on the board. They're not changes, but they're not being enforced. You understand what I'm saying? So we, number one, we have to do that. To effectuate a good government, there's not much. Now, some people will tell you that the mayor needs to make more money. Well, listen, you know what money you were making when you got there. So it's not, it shouldn't be a position of how much money you make. I think that when we go back, when I led the charter commission after 5 years, we made several different types of recommendations for the charter to be changed. And really, one of those changes was how do we establish candidates for election? There's been a whole lot of stuff about people don't live here and people did this and don't do that and they did. But we had a recommendation in the charter commission that I thought was a great recommendation as to how do we vet people who want to run for office. We had several different recommendations. I don't recall all of them now, Mr. Bourne, but several different recommendations that went over to the city, to the state house. The state only returned them back to us to say, well, these are things that you can do in-house. Well, brought them to this. I mean, we could do it at the city. Brought them to the city. City says we can't do any of these. We don't think it's legal. Well, the state just told you it was. Well, as a result of all that, none of the changes that we recommended on the charter commission was ever brought to life. And I wish I was. I wish I could remember all of the ones that we had, but Miss Bourne, I don't. But I do remember the one that we had about the elections. Now there's something that needs to be done, and I'm sure that charter changes. Here's the other part about a charter change. When you go in and start messing with the charter, you open that charter up to every legislator in Georgia to make changes, to do what they want to do. So we have to be careful on how we do it, how we pursue, what action do we pursue to get to where we want to get. So you have to be very, very careful in terms of pursuing charter changes. I would love to us to just things that we can do in-house, Mr. Bourne, I think is the things that we need to do. I would see to it that we get those things done and then move forward. But there's got to be some change. I would never tell you that there's no change that we need to make. There's got to be made some changes. And I could just remember one of them off the top of my head was the way we handle elections.
All righty. As the overseer, of the council meetings.
Mr. Nico, I have a question.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can unmute.
That was Yashina.
Yes, I finally was able to get unmuted.
Okay.
It's a quick question. So my question is, and I remember, and just to piggyback on Ms. Pamela Harvey, when she mentioned the code board, I was on the code board for some years, and we had a great director, Mr. Morris.
Yes.
And he was in a position where he had to leave. So we have a lot of people who wanted to do good for the city and were either forced out or fired because they were trying to do the right thing. My question is, would you be able to, or would you think it would be a good idea if you were to be mayor to bring back some of those individuals who are doing the work for the city? Why or why not?
Listen, if you've done great work for us and you've been mistreated, and I'm not saying that people in our employee or who are on our committees, I'm not saying they all been treated right, okay? But I've heard the stories of the code enforcement and how people have been treated And I also heard that a lot of people left because they don't want to be putting up with it anymore. Yes, I would consider bringing some folk back if they have not done anything totally wrong or immoral or illegal. So they're always in good standing with us. The problems we have is even with the code board is the frustrating is that you people get out there and you fix these codes and people don't, when they get to the point where you have to pay fines and things of that nature, they're not fined properly. You remember that, right? I mean, they get menial fines for what they do. That frustrates you all. I saw that coming. So to answer your question, yes, if there's nothing immoral or illegal, and you're what we need, I would definitely consider bringing it back.
Alrighty, my question was, as the overseer of the council agenda and over the meetings, the council meetings are entirely too long. So how would you recommend getting the council meetings to be shorter? And part of the problem that some of the council meetings go so long is because of the way some of the council people either bully, overtalk, argue, and continue to repeat themselves, that the meetings go on and on. How would you handle making the meetings shorter and handling the civility of the council, since you oversee that meeting?
Several different ways. One would be to adopt immediately a code of conduct. We haven't done that. And
they have a civility one.
Huh?
They have a civility one in place. They don't follow it.
Code of conduct. Right. I hear all that. But and adopting it and using it. Okay. Now, second thing, it's the council in their purview to say that we're going to use Robert's Rules of Order to conduct our meeting. Robert's Rules of Order is not the law. It's used to conduct a meeting. So when you do that, when you say things like, let me give you a couple of examples. When you say things like point of order. Now, some people use that to extend their time for conversation. That's not what it's used for. The mayor should immediately ask the question, what is your point? And that's a procedural question. And so if your answer does not be procedural, then you go on to, but you got to take that control.
What about the time of meetings going to 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night?
If you're doing what you're supposed to do and you're honoring your code of conduct and your Robert's Rules of Order, then the other thing is there are some things that don't need to be on the agenda. I'll be honest with you. That there's some things that need to be put on the consent agenda. Now, you can take something off the consent agenda as for the meeting, but if you've agreed upon something, you've talked about it, you've got your input from the community, why have it there for a conversation? Now, some things you just got to put on. You can't hide. You just got to have it on there. But the consent agenda is voted on with one vote. It's passed, and we move on to the regular agenda items.
Okay. Ms. Doris has a question.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Doris, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing good.
I'm not sure whether you've watched the council meetings over the last year or so, but my question is to you is how would you help restore faith and a re-engagement for the, for the residents, because I watched those meetings, and I used to go to some of them, but it was just so disappointing, and I just felt like we weren't going to be heard because we've taken petitions and spoken everything, just totally ignored. And I've seen recent groups come, like having Drew Demand and other people come, and they're ignored. So people's mindset now is, okay, they're going to do what they want to do. They ignore us. So how would you help restore re-engagement?
First of all, giving you the opportunity to say what you got to say. And believe that whatever you have to say, we will deal with it. All right. And also, we need to have as many people at our meetings as they want to come up and speak. Now, there's been times in my career that I have extended public comment because of the issue that's on the table. So I don't agree with this. If it ain't on the agenda, you can't talk about it. Well,
you know what? But it seems like now is that they are really in favor of the builder and developer, and people can bring evidence that really justify why they shouldn't. And because, see, it's my understanding a zoning request isn't a zoning request just a request. They don't have to vote in favor of it.
You're right. What you do is if the zoning request comes in, it goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals, right? Now, let me ask, all of our boards simply make recommendations. They're not the alpha and omega to anything. So if the zoning board comes back and says, we recommend that this goes forward, the ultimate decision is on the city council.
Thank you. Okay. That's what I wanted to hear. Can I just ask another quick question?
No,
real quick?
We are running low on time.
No. That's what no means no. See, that's what he need to do in some of them council meetings.
I ask questions though in any other forums, but now I want to ask a question.
No, I know that he need to do it in council. No. All right, Ron, you have a question.
Yes, Mayor. I just have a quick question for you. If you get elected, would you agree to come back no less than once a year to do a forum like that like this one with us?
Once a year?
Yeah,
that's
or
too long.
More often if you'd like.
That's too long. I think we need to do something like this, like every quarter.
Okay.
Remember, I said one of the things I said to you was about why I'm running, and that was listening. Well, I got to provide the forum to be listening to hear from you, and so this would be something that I would do once every quarter.
Well, thank you so much, and I'll respect your time.
Okay.
Yes, so we have gone a couple minutes over 8:30. I have more questions, but we are at the ending. So do you have any closing comments or thoughts or why they should vote for you? What last comments do you want to say?
In 2017, when we voted to have this city, you all voted for a mayor and city council. And you also said that we will give you the resources that you need to move the city forward. That was the deal you made. I can tell you now that we have yet to seal that deal. That's what I want to do. What do I mean by seal that deal? I talked to you earlier about sustainability, economic development, accountability, and I talked to you about listening. Those are the 4 pillars of why I want to come back, and everything falls up under that. So I'm willing to go and fight and negotiate for you. I'm willing to change things for you. I'm willing to make you more a part of the government than you've ever been in your life. And that's how we'll seal the deal for this city. Thank you so much, and I hope that each one of you, when you go to the poll, that you'll vote for William Bill Edwards.
With that being said, I will turn it back over to Mr. Snellings to do the closeout.
Tamika, thank you so much, and I apologize about the technical glitch that we had, but we got through it. Mayor Edwards, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and participating with us. At this time, I would like to actually turn it over to Deborah Robinson Herring. She just wanted to make a quick announcement to everybody before we conclude for the evening, and then I have an announcement after hers. So, Ms. Herring, you have the floor. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, Mr. Snelling. I am Deborah Robinson Herring, and this is my plea to invite each and every one of you on this call to spread the word that on tomorrow evening at 7 p.m., the Social Action Ministry of the Friendship Community Church will host a forum for our candidates for mayor. We are located at 4141 Old Fairburn Road, and once again, our start time will be 7 p.m. Join us, spread the word, and thank you.
All right. Thank you, Deborah.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Now, also, if we also have a scheduled event tomorrow at 7 p.m. And that is with Mayor Kobe. So he will be here tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. So if you're unable to make that one, we will be here if you want to hear from Mayor Kobe. So that's the announcement that we have for tonight. And I look forward to seeing everybody back tomorrow evening. That will wrap up the mayor sessions for this week, and then we will be back on next week with 3 additional candidates. So thank you everybody for joining, and everyone have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.